Introduction. Have you ever noticed how life feels unpredictable, almost as if it's constantly testing you? One moment everything seems steady, and the next, a storm of problems appears out of nowhere. People disappoint you, plans fall apart, and even your own emotions turn against you. But what if I told you that you could walk through chaos with calmness, stand unshaken when everything else trembles, and even find strength where others see only weakness? That's the essence of stoicism. It's not about pretending life is easy, it's about learning how to face hardship with courage and grace. Stoicism isn't some abstract philosophy meant only for old statues and dusty books. It's a way of life practiced by warriors, emperors, and ordinary people who refuse to let life break them. It teaches us that real power isn't about controlling the world or other people, it's about controlling ourselves. It's about creating inner freedom no matter what storms rage around us. Today, we're going to dive into 12 powerful Stoic lessons that will help you build resilience, clarity, and strength. Stay until the end, because the last lesson will challenge you to see life itself in a completely different way. Lesson 1: Control what you can, let go of what you can't. One of the most fundamental Stoic teachings is this: focus only on what lies within your control. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, said it plainly: some things are up to us, and some things are not. Think about how often you waste energy stressing over things you can't change, someone else's opinion, the weather, the traffic, or even the outcome of events you've already done your best in. By clinging to control where you have none, you create frustration, anxiety, and even resentment. The Stoic shift happens when you draw a clear line between what belongs to you, your actions, your words, your mindset, and what belongs to fate. I once knew someone who constantly obsessed over what others thought of him. Every negative comment, every disapproving glance left him spiraling into self-doubt. But the more he chased approval, the less peace he had. When he finally embraced the Stoic idea of focusing only on his choices, his honesty, his effort, his courage, something changed. The criticism didn't vanish, but it lost its power over him. That's the lesson here: freedom begins when you stop trying to control the uncontrollable. Like a sailor, you cannot change the wind, but you can adjust your sails. When you live by this principle, you conserve your energy for what truly matters: your own thoughts, actions, and values. Lesson 2: The power of silence. Have you ever noticed how powerful silence can be? Most people rush to fill every gap with noise, explanations, defenses, gossip, or chatter. But the Stoics understood that silence is often stronger than words. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, often reminded himself not to waste energy reacting to everything around him. Silence, in its true form, is not weakness, it's a weapon. When others provoke you, your silence unsettles them. When others gossip, your silence protects your dignity. When others demand your reaction, silence gives you control. Think of a time when someone insulted you. Your first instinct might have been to snap back, to defend yourself. But have you ever tried simply smiling and walking away? That moment of restraint says more than 1,000 words. I recall an instance where a colleague tried to bait me into an argument in front of others. Instead of engaging, I listened quietly, nodded, and said nothing. Hours later, people told me how calm I seemed, while the other person looked desperate for attention. That's the beauty of silence, it allows truth to surface without you lifting a finger. In practicing silence, you not only protect your peace, you also show a strength that words could never carry. Lesson 3: Emotions are signals, not masters. One of the greatest misunderstandings about Stoicism is that it teaches us to suppress emotions. That's not true. The Stoics never said you shouldn't feel anger, sadness, or fear. What they taught is that emotions are natural signals, but they should never become your masters. Imagine you're driving a car. Your emotions are like the warning lights on the dashboard. They tell you something is happening, but they don't grab the steering wheel. Anger might signal that a boundary has been crossed, fear may warn of danger, and sadness shows you've lost something valuable. But once the signal is noticed, you must choose how to act with reason and wisdom. I once knew someone who exploded at the smallest frustration: a late train, a rude comment, a missed call. Each outburst left him drained, embarrassed, and regretting his words. But over time, through practice, he began to apply Stoic wisdom. Instead of reacting instantly, he paused and asked himself, is this worth my peace? Is this in my control? That pause, that breath, was his victory. Slowly, his anger stopped controlling him, he began to control it. That's the Stoic way: don't kill your emotions, but train them to serve you instead of enslaving you. As Marcus Aurelius put it, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Lesson 4: Adversity is your teacher. Most people dread hardship. They pray for easier lives, smoother paths, and fewer obstacles. But the Stoics flipped this idea upside down. For them, adversity wasn't something to run from, it was the forge where strength is created. Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Think about it: a sailor becomes skilled not by sailing calm waters, but by navigating storms. A warrior doesn't grow strong by resting, but by facing battles. Your struggles are not punishments, they are training. I remember a young athlete who tore his ligament right before a major competition. For months, he was devastated, watching others succeed while he limped in recovery. But instead of giving up, he embraced the Stoic mindset. He focused on what he could control: his rehabilitation, his diet, his mental strength. By the time he healed, he had not only recovered physically but also developed resilience and discipline far beyond his peers. That's what Stoicism teaches: every obstacle hides an opportunity. The question is not, why me, but how can this shape me? When you see adversity as a teacher instead of an enemy, you transform pain into power. Lesson 5: Focus on what you can control. If there's one principle that sits at the very heart of Stoicism, it is this: focus only on what is within your control, and let go of everything else. Life is full of things that pull at us: traffic, weather, the opinions of others, the twists of fortune. None of these are ours to command. The Stoics taught that the only true domain we fully control is our thoughts, our choices, our actions. Imagine holding a bow and arrow. You can control your aim, your stance, your release. But once the arrow leaves the string, the wind, the distance, and the target are no longer yours to control. Why waste energy worrying about what's already beyond your reach? I once heard of a woman who constantly fretted over her co-workers' opinions. Every day, she replayed conversations in her head, wondering if she sounded foolish or if she was being judged. She was exhausted, her peace shattered not by reality but by her obsession with controlling the uncontrollable. But when she embraced Stoic wisdom, she shifted her focus. I can't control what they think, but I can control my words, my work, and my integrity. Slowly, the burden lifted. She stopped trying to manage the unmanageable, and her peace returned. That's the Stoic gift: when you stop clinging to what you don't control, you finally free yourself to live fully in what you do. Lesson 6: Practice voluntary discomfort. In today's world, comfort surrounds us. Warm homes, abundant food, instant entertainment. Yet comfort, while pleasant, can also weaken us. The Stoics taught that to prepare for life's inevitable hardships, we must sometimes step willingly into discomfort. Seneca advised practicing poverty, wearing simple clothes, eating plain food, and asking yourself, is this what I feared? This practice builds resilience. When you taste discomfort by choice, life's surprises lose their power over you. A friend once decided to follow this practice in his own way. Each month, he'd spend a few days living as simply as possible: no luxuries, no eating out, no indulgence. Just the basics. At first, it felt like deprivation. But soon, he discovered something powerful: the fear of losing comfort was far worse than the reality. He realized he could endure much more than he thought, and that realization gave him incredible freedom. When life threw real challenges his way: job insecurity, unexpected bills, he wasn't paralyzed by fear. He had already practiced resilience. That's the beauty of voluntary discomfort: it's not punishment, but preparation. It's the training ground where courage and contentment are built. Lesson 7: Remember the shortness of life. The Stoics often reminded themselves of mortality, a practice known as memento mori: remember that you will die. Now, this isn't meant to be grim or depressing. On the contrary, it's meant to wake us up. Life is fleeting. Each sunrise, each conversation, each moment we spend worrying is one less we'll ever have. Marcus Aurelius urged himself daily to not act as if you had 10,000 years to throw away. Time slips by whether we notice or not, and the Stoics believed wisdom comes from cherishing it, not wasting it. Think about how often we say, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll tell them how I feel later. But later is never guaranteed. A man I once knew delayed his dreams of traveling until retirement, always saying there would be time. But when illness struck, those plans evaporated. He realized too late that life is not a rehearsal. The Stoics teach us to live with urgency, not panic urgency to love, to create, to express gratitude. When you remember the shortness of life, you don't waste it on trivial arguments or endless worry. Instead, you invest in what truly matters, because you know each day is both precious and irreplaceable. Lesson 8, Master your desires. Desire. Lesson 9, See obstacles as opportunities. Life is never free of obstacles. Plans fall apart, people disappoint us, dreams get delayed. But the Stoics taught that obstacles are not interruptions of the path, they are the path. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Imagine you're preparing for a big presentation and the technology fails. You could collapse into frustration, or you could see it as an opportunity to show calm under pressure, to connect with your audience in a more human way. Suddenly, the obstacle becomes a chance to demonstrate resilience. Think about history's great innovators and leaders. Many of them achieved greatness not because they avoided obstacles, but because they used them. Thomas Edison faced thousands of failed experiments before inventing the light bulb. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, but instead of breaking, he emerged stronger, ready to lead his nation. The Stoics teach us that when life blocks us, it's offering a test. Do we crumble, or do we adapt? Each obstacle contains a hidden gift: patience, creativity, humility. If you train yourself to look for the lesson inside the struggle, then nothing in life can truly defeat you. Lesson 10, Prepare for adversity. Most people go through life hoping nothing bad will happen. The Stoics chose a different path, they prepared for it. They called this practice premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Each day, they imagined what could go wrong: losing a job, facing sickness, enduring insults. Not to frighten themselves, but to strengthen their minds. By rehearsing adversity, they were less shaken when it arrived. If you've already prepared yourself for hardship, you meet it with steadiness instead of shock. Think of a soldier who trains for battle. They don't just practice when things go smoothly, they prepare for chaos, so that when chaos comes, they're not surprised. Life is the same. You can practice this in small ways. Imagine how you'd respond if plans were cancelled, if money was tight, if someone close to you misunderstood you. By doing this, you build an inner armor. Then, when misfortune strikes, as it inevitably will, you won't be crushed by it. The Stoics remind us that adversity is part of life's design. Better to face it prepared, steady, and calm than to be caught off guard. Preparation doesn't erase pain, but it makes you powerful enough to endure it. Lesson 11, Live in harmony with nature. The Stoics believed that peace comes from living in alignment with nature. Now, this doesn't just mean spending time outdoors, though that helps. What they meant was living in harmony with the natural order of life. Day follows night. Seasons change. People are born, they live, and they die. To resist this flow is to create suffering for yourself. But to accept it, to live in step with the rhythms of existence, is to find tranquility. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that what happens is natural, even if it feels harsh, and that accepting it is part of being human. Think about how often we get frustrated at things that are simply part of life. We rage at aging, though it's as natural as sunrise. We fight change, though nothing in the universe stands still. Imagine instead embracing these truths. Imagine seeing gray hair not as loss but as a badge of wisdom, or viewing challenges not as unfair disruptions but as natural seasons of growth. Living in harmony with nature means saying yes to life as it is, not as we wish it to be. And in that acceptance, the noise of frustration quiets, leaving only calm clarity. Lesson 12. Value character above reputation. In today's world, reputation often overshadows character. We worry about followers, likes, and what others think, sometimes more than who we actually are. The Stoics flipped this perspective. To them, reputation was fragile, often outside our control. But character, the way you act when no one is watching, that was everything. Epictetus warned, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because chasing reputation enslaves you to others' opinions, but building character frees you. Consider a person who looks admirable on the outside, polished, respected, yet compromises their integrity behind closed doors. That reputation is hollow, destined to crumble. Now picture someone who quietly lives with honesty, kindness, and strength, whether or not anyone notices. Their character becomes their anchor, and in time, people see it for what it is. The Stoics remind us to live for virtue, not applause. Your reputation is what people say about you, your character is what you know about yourself. One fades with gossip, the other endures with truth. Choose character, and you'll always walk in peace, no matter the crowd's judgment. Conclusion: sculpting a Stoic life. So here we are. 12 timeless lessons from the Stoics, not abstract philosophy, but practical wisdom designed for living. These principles were forged in the fires of hardship, war, exile,